Hi, this is Stacia, and today we're going to look at a tournament game that I played in the Tuesday Tussle, ran by Progressive Chess, who's also my employer, by the way. So if any of you guys want to come join our events, they're all online for the moment, so now is your chance. Okay, so in this game I played Zhao Di, who I'm pretty sure is a kid in New York, and rated slightly higher than me. So let's see what we can learn. E4, E5, knight f3 attacking the pawn, knight f6 defend it, and bishop c4. So my opponent chose the Italian game. I played this position as white and black, and I played knight f6, which it sounds funny, but I'm kind of excited about this. I keep expanding my opening repertoire. So before, I played the move bishop to c5. But now I'm trying out knight f6, which leads to entirely different positions, believe it or not. He went d3. And yeah, here, white can actually try for the knight attack with knight g5. And it goes into this variation, which maybe you've seen. Knight a5, check here. And then the bishop comes back to either d3 or d2. And white's up a pawn, but black has a very strong initiative. So this is kind of what I'm hoping for when I play this way. Because if I do the other way, I'll show you this because it's kind of interesting. Like if I go bishop c5, instead white could play b4. And I've played the black side of several Evans gambits already. And I also played this as white. And I'd rather be white, to be honest. Okay. So knight f6, but my opponent, he did not choose knight g5. He didn't even go for d4, which is also an interesting line. He went d3. This is the Instead of the Giuoco piano, this is the Giuoco Pianissimo. And so it's a little bit passive, but, you know, totally fine. And I go bishop c5 here because it's a little bit better than the e7 square. And he played knight c3. So usually I would expect castles here. And a lot of times the bishop comes here and, you know, or even comes to f1 first and then that sort of plan. So to play knight c3 is a little different, but this is called the four knights Italian from here. And I do know that this is very common amongst scholastic players. Okay, so I played a6, and to be honest, it's not a blunder or anything, but I don't think this is a good move. A6 is usually reserved for, you know, if knight a4 is a threat and you want to retreat your bishop, a6 allows that. It creates a little cubby hole in a7. But here, I mean, why couldn't I just go bishop e7 and claim that the knight is silly? So I actually think next time I'll play d6 and won't even worry about it. Or I might even play h6. But these little nuances are important. Like you shouldn't just throw these moves on the board for no reason. And h6 is even a bit premature. So I think d6 is the way to go. Okay. But I went a6. And he went bishop g5. Okay. So a couple of you are screaming at me through my computer screen. Going, Stacia, that's why you should play h6. Because now you're stuck in this annoying pin. Okay. But guess what? It's not annoying. I have bishop e7 if I want it. And I also have h6, g5. Because my king is not yet committed to the king side. So I can throw my g-pawn and maybe try this idea. So let's see what happens. h6, bishop back. And yes, I went for g5. The other nice thing about this is now the bishop is sort of shoved to this bad square for him. I mean, he basically, I mean, if he could take this, it'd be good, but I played d6. So he's not taking that. He's basically, he can't even move. Okay, so if your bishop can't move, that's generally bad. Okay. Yeah, and I want to turn these. For some reason, analysis board on Lee chess behaves differently than it does in normal mode, I guess. Okay, here we go. Bishop e6. I don't love this move anymore. I think a better move here is bishop to g5. The reason being, this knight, he doesn't really have squares, and we could double white's pawns, which might be a good idea. I don't see the g file being useful to the rook, and maybe that would give us weaknesses to play for. But okay, I went here. Bishop to b3. Queen e7. So one thing I'm trying to get better at is to see more tempo moves. And I think here, you know, I should just avoid putting the queen here because she can get hit with tempo, which happens. So I definitely think queen d7 is better. My opponent castled. And yeah, another little improvement I could have made is to take this bishop now. I was scared of a crazy plan. I'll share this with you guys because I'm embarrassed about it and I just want to get it out there. But I was actually scared of like this, followed by this, followed by this, 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 this. And I thought I might get killed down the file. Okay, that was never going to happen. So I should have taken the bishop. Okay, but I castled. And now that this gave him time to land his pony on the d5 square. And he's not a very nice pony. He's attacking my queen. Whoops, sorry about that. He's attacking my queen. He's attacking my knight. And if I move my queen away now, he wins a free knight. So that would be unfortunate. So, in fact, I have to take it. In addition, be careful how you take this knight, because knight takes, pawn takes is a fork. And I'd have to reduce my rating back to 1200 if I fall for that one. Sorry. Okay, and so I have to take with a bishop. And honestly, you know, I'm lucky that move was there, but it's not one that I want to play. This is my good bishop. Also, why do I want to give him the two bishops? Right? So I think that queen move here instead of here, that cost me the two bishops. Oh, also not taking the bishop here. All right, well, I jumped the knight in, he took. This is fairly forced. c3, attacking the bishop. Bishop moved away. Okay, but I like my bishop here. And I calculated all this, so I was pretty happy with this. And now the rook came over. And now, well, if I had a free turn, which I kind of do, I would play this move because, well, if I can't have the two bishops, then neither can you. I mean like that. But if I went here, I was a little worried about this move, d4. I realized that this pawn is pinned. d4 would attack the pinned pawn, and maybe I'd be sad. I'm not sure. But it turns out that I think I should have played this, because after d4, okay, this is a threat. Like, I don't want this to happen. But you know what you do? Defend it. The computer showed me this. Like, I could just defend it. And then if he takes, I take. Whoop-de-doo. Bishop's still not good. I'm still going to grab him. I think this is good. And probably black is slightly better here. But I did not do that. I decided to break the pin based on the faulty presumption that after here and here I'm in trouble when I really have this move. Okay. Queen went here. And now I really like this move. It looks like it doesn't do much, but it does. I really want to play knight h5. I really want to play this move. That's not advised because of queen takes h5. So now I have to figure out what to do with this crazy knight. He's in front of my pawn, and he has barely any squares. He's just a bad piece. Now you could argue that white has a very iffy bishop as well, but I do feel like this bishop will have a future, some sort of a future, while my knight is not so clear. Well, I decided on a plan that in hindsight I don't think is very good. I went knight to h7. In fact, the correct thing to do here is to play a rook on the f file or maybe even the e file. And the reason being, okay, I was afraid of this move, but here I could simply go knight g8. Now I have to learn to calculate better and know that after these two moves, white doesn't have an amazing follow-up here. Okay. And with the rook here, I am going to get this in, and it's going to come with tempo on the bishop. That bishop would be trapped. So that's very nice. So like, for example, if you wanted to try this move, I go c5, and if he tried to take, whoops, your bishop's trapped. So he doesn't have time for this. Also, the knight could be good here. Could be looking at this square, could be looking at this square. The bishop won't want to move away so fast, etc., etc. So I think knight g8, again, the computer showed me this plan. I think knight g8 after moving the rook in is the right idea. If you play it now, for example, I mean, what are you doing? Right? Like, I'm undeveloping. But, okay, let's continue. Knight h7. A little bit iffy on my part. And now f3. My opponent saw that I want to improve my bad knight. And he said, you know what? I'm going to improve one of my bad bishops. Good idea. So the bishop wants to come here and challenge my amazing bishop. Okay, so I proceed with my plan. He went here. I pretty much have to take it. And now the queen wants to come and have tea with my king. But I don't like tea. So king b8. And now d4. So I was worried about this move, but I thought I was okay here. I take that back. I didn't think I was okay here. If I did, I would take that pawn. Or leave it or something. So, I thought, after he takes the pawn, I was afraid I would be worse. Like, for example, this line. This doesn't look so good for me. Here, here. White is, My knight's kind of funky here. He's got a lot of power on the e file. And after this, the bishop's ready to come into the action. I felt like I was worse here, and we're going to ask the computer now. Yeah, the computer says, in fact, I am worse. And then I should play knight to e4. Wow, is that some kind of weird interference move? Check this move out. Knight to e4. If you take with a pawn, I take your rook. That's unfortunate. If you take with a rook, I take this rook. So if you can't take, if you take this way, I still take with a rook. So this knight is untouchable. How amazing is that? Okay, I did not see this move. Not at all. But it says even after this amazing move, which I really like, white is still better. So it says queen d4. Yeah, here, and white's better. So because of that, I tried a pawn sacrifice, okay, after this move. But let's see what should have happened. Okay, I should go rook h to e8. And now white should take the pawn. This is fine. But now I should simply take with a rook. This is the right way to handle this. And if he takes here, I take here. And see, I was worried about this kind of thing, but I have this covered because it will open up the bishop. But so what? I mean, my knight's going to come back into... I've got a pretty nice 4-3 majority on the queen side. King side. Queen side this queen side this game. Okay, and this position, black is slightly worse, but not that much. This is a game. I mean, I should have definitely gone for this and fought on from here. Instead, and I have a history of doing this in my games, so if I'm going to improve to the next level, I need to stop thinking positions are worse than they really are, because that wasn't so bad. And so seeing that I was going to be lost if I played rook over, which isn't true, I played this move. Now, I wasn't just giving away a pawn for no reason. So I'll give myself points for creativity, because after this move, I do get some activity with my pieces. I'll show you what I mean. Pawn takes, okay? Knight here. Now I'm ready to do 2 tempo moves. Rook here, attacking the queen, and knight here, attacking the rook. So I'm getting my pieces into action quickly with tempo. Problem is, my activity sort of ends there, so. But I also reasoned, you know, maybe these double pawns aren't so strong. Turns out my pawn sack idea, okay, so there you go. It has some compensation, but not enough. It's like a quarter of a pawn compensation. So, you know, I think I need it to be better than that. So my opponent did play this interesting move. I was actually expecting rook here. And now I played a little bit tricky, even though tricks are for kids. Hey, I know a lot of kids who are good players, so I try to play like a kid too. Rook here. I mean, a normal person would move their queen. Maybe here is okay. Not sure. I mean, I'm a pawn down. Do I really want to go into this? So that's why I ruled that out. So I played tricky instead. Rook to e8. And I think he has to be careful here. Like, if he takes my queen, all right, then I take his queen. And his rook is hanging. And I thought maybe the rook would get trapped. Let's see if it does. It's almost trapped. Can't go here, I take it. Can't go here, I take it. Can't go here, I take it. So this is the only square. And okay, I mean, you could reason that this is not a good square for the rook. That's one thing you could reason. And the other thing you could reason is maybe knight g4. Now I'm defending this one and threatening to do bad stuff like this. So I actually like black here, and the computer agrees. So my trick was a good trick. Problem is he doesn't have to take the queen though. He can simply go here, which he did. Okay, so now I take the rook. He took with a queen. And I tried one more tricky move, rook to e8. I'm not sure this one's as good. Let's see. Well, if he takes this... Oh, well, if he takes the queen, I take a rook and then take the queen. So that's kind of funny. Like this. Zwischenzug. Then again, he can do that. Yeah. So it's really too bad that the king wasn't on the b1 square, you know, and usually players play this move. But his lack of king b1 may have saved the game, because I think this would win otherwise. But it doesn't here, because after he does take and I take with check, the king attacks the rook. So I took, and this all happened. And now we're in an ending. And, well, I'd like you to pause your video. I have a question for you. Pause it after I ask the question. What do you think of this ending? I mean, we know white's better, and we know it's two results. It's either going to be a win or it's going to be a draw. So give your assessment. Pause the video. Is white going to win, or can black draw this? Well, the answer is interesting. So let's continue, and you're going to see. Okay, he brought his king up. I figured that was a good idea. I need to get my king. I cannot have this king infiltrating. Let me put it that way. Like, I think he could just do this. Like, this is a good plan. Eat my pawns and win. So I have to stop that. So knight here. Now I need to bring my king up, but I think this is correct because now I built a little wall. Got to keep him out. Whoops, sorry. So he played here. Now I brought my king up. Pawn up. Knight here. I can allow this move now because now I have king f6. Okay, here comes the bishop. And I was really keeping an eye on these pawn moves over here because, well, if he makes a pass pawn over there, I will be lost. But I figured, here's what I figured. And tell me if you think this is right. I figured that his plan is probably this, takes, this, and if I take, he fixes his pawn. So when the pawn comes here, I cannot take it, but maybe I could do this. And then I reason that if he takes this way, I take back, and if he takes this way, I take back. And these pawns remain doubled, and it's a draw. So these pawns must remain doubled. So it looked okay to me over here. Looked okay. So let's see if I can hold the draw. He attacked my pawn, but I saw it, so I moved it up. I wanted to play this move anyway to stop this break. I think this move is safe. I can do this. Now the knight is helping keep the king out. And now I reasoned that I could basically move my king back and forth and this should be a draw. Just got to be careful about the pawn moves. So what I said is happening. And now I think if I take this, it loses either way. Like if I take this, and now he can make a pass pawn now. Like even just this, and this guy runs. So I cannot take this c5 pawn. Okay, so I move back and forth. And thankfully he took here, which I believe is a blunder, because now it's just a draw. There's no infiltration squares. This is all covered. Probably his best hope is to get in here, but I would play here. So this is just a draw, and I'll show you the rest of the game. He actually got tricky, was offering me a pawn, but eventually I take it. Let's see. Yeah, I took it here. I'm like, hey, you're going to give me your bishop and move your king away? Like, like, okay, maybe I'm winning. But no, it's a draw. Now, ready to have your mind blown? That was actually a win. There is a winning plan here. Now, I played against Stockfish to see how this could possibly be won. And I'll show you how you win this. So the idea is that first you want to put the bishop instead of a pawn on the c6 square. The bishop from here will do a really nice job keeping my king out. Okay, if my king wants to get in, I really can't. I can only come to the 8th rank, and that's it. Now, that's step one. Step two is to trade off some of the pawns, okay, and then get to a point where we can bring the king somehow, I don't know how yet, to the b5 square. Okay, this pawn will be traded off, this pawn will be traded off. And once the king is stationed on b5, okay, white can do their pawn break. Now I still can't take because of reasons we said, but the difference here is that I can't sit still either, because this pawn, with the addition of the king, will be attacked twice. So let's watch this. Okay, I'm going to go here. All right, so now let's say I try to come over here. It doesn't do anything, right? Look at this bishop. Yeah, computer's saying +5 now. And now I'm going to trade this one. But now, and the sad thing is too, is that my king is kept out as well. And, well, I could grab this pawn, though. I just don't think it's fast enough. Wonder how the computer accounts for that. But I think it's instructive enough to look at this winning plan, because I think it's so interesting. All right, so let's say I do try to... Oh, actually, I get it. I totally get it. If I bring my knight here, the bishop could take. And if my king's over here trying to come here, I cannot do that, because when the knight comes here, I'm going to have to take back. So yeah, this plan doesn't work. And there's no other moves for the knight. So the knight is isolated. That's probably a key part of this that I kind of missed. All right. So I'm going to just try to go over here. The king's coming. Okay, and he can now do this. Now remember, I cannot take this. But white doesn't have to take either. And now here comes the king. Here comes that king, and now I'm in trouble. Boom. Boom. I have to take it. And boom. And he's got his pawn. And not only that, but he's ready to come to this square and escort it. If my knight comes here, still. Boom. So there you go. My opponent had a win. So, but I have to admit, that's kind of a hard one to find. So I hope you guys enjoyed this game and learned something with me. I'll be back with my final game from the Tuesday Tussle. Thanks, and have a great day.